What's up, Mesa Falcons? You get a rare one today. You get me before shower. No shave, no clean hair, tank top. Why? Because they just dropped the ban announcement. And are you ready, guys? Let's see. Let's see what they've got. Let's head right in. I have no idea. March 30, that's not it. June 30th, 2025, that's Reddit. This is the, oh, I gotta put the link in up here, not the search bar. Smooth. Ah, God, it's so bright. Hold on, I can save you. This is why you watch my channel for this. Holy crap, did I just see that correctly? Anyway, Dark Reader, nice little browser extension. Oh my God. Oh my God. They fired all the bullets. Look, they brought out the whole team. They brought out 5 people for this announcement. They absolutely launched the bullets and they hit 7 cards. 7 cards? Corey Steelcutter, Abuelo's Awakening, Monstrous Rage, Heartfire Hero, Up the Beanstalk, Hopeless Nightmare. This town ain't big enough. It ain't big enough for none of us. They went for every deck. They went for red. They went for prowess. They went for awakening. Omniscience. They went for beans. I mean, yeah, I guess Domain's been there a long time. Sure. Domain is the one that I think changes the most with rotation. That's why I didn't think they'd have to kill it. And then they also hit Hopeless Nightmare, and this town ain't big enough. Wow. Oh my gosh. This is gonna make a really great what got banned video someday. Anyway, all these other things have no changes, with Corey Steelcutter suspended pending a rebalance. And in Pioneer Best of One on Arena, Trickery is banned because there are people who just don't like playing Magic the Gathering. There's always that group that would rather play a slot machine than Magic the Gathering in their Magic the Gathering. And then there's Counterspell, unbanned in Historic. Always thought that was weird. Okay. Howdy, gamers. Yes. My name is Carmen Clamperens, and I'm a senior game designer on Magic's play design team. Welcome to our mid-year ban and restricted announcement for 2025. The previous update to the ban and restricted list focused on changes to Modern and Legacy, with massive upheaval in Pauper. But for this announcement, we're shining a spotlight on Standard. Yeah, the Eye of Sauron has found Standard. Given the quality of cards being added to Standard ban list, I'll go ahead and roll out the red carpet for Jadine to talk about the details of what's changing and why. As usual, we'll be on weekly MTG and twitch.tv/magic tomorrow. That's July 1st at 10 a.m. Pacific time to discuss these changes and answer any lingering questions. You can submit questions for that stream over on the official Magic the Gathering Discord. To jump to our discussion of a particular format, click below. Okay, we have discussion. Let's go. Standard, with all these bans, all these beautiful cards got banned. So much for my no changes idea, but thanks for all the clicks anyway. Wow, is this enough to change the play patterns of Standard? That was my biggest concern. I've never been so happy to be wrong about the bans, but will it change things? It looks like this is intended to do a lot of changing. All right. Today's announcement is our once-a-year early rotation window for Standard. Our goal with this window, by the way, this is the first time they've done this, the early rotation window, to try to shake things up. So that also plays a lot into what would they do. Our goal with this window is to set the next rotation cycle up to be as fun as possible. We do this by saying an early goodbye to a number of cards that have proven their strength and made the format less fun, either by creating unhealthy play patterns or by restricting the viable deck building options available in the environment. Okay, so all best decks will now be banned in whatever this is, the early rotation window in Standard. That's what it's gonna be. Although, when is that next year? Because now they're starting to ban in February, so it'll be like January. They'll make January be something in Magic. That's kind of exciting. It's usually a dead time. We do this by saying an early goodbye to a number of cards that prove their strength. Yep. Created play patterns. Yep. Restricting the viable deck building options available in the environment. Below, we'll discuss these bans and our reasoning behind them. Then we'll discuss the lessons learned from these cards for 3-year standard. We're announcing the banning of 7 cards in standard. 7 is a lot of cards. Is it the most ever at once? When they did the Mirrodin bans, it was Arcbound, Ravager, Disciple of the Vault, and the 5 lands. And Darksteel Citadel. It's not the most ever at once. But, I mean, comparing it to Affinity is weird because the land cycle had to be completely banned. Even for our early rotation window, and especially so since it has been over 2 years since any cards were banned in standard. Has it really been 2 years since they banned Meathook Massacre? Oh, and then they banned Invoke Despair, Reckoner Bankbuster Fable. That was the last ban. Wow, it really has been that long. I'm old. So how do we get here? Our last banned and restricted announcement was 3 months ago, shortly after the release of Aether Drift. Oh, let's go. At the time, standard was looking fun and healthy. There were 3 decks clearly at the top of the metagame. Red Aggressive Mousies, Self-Bounce Synergy, and the Pixie decks. Domain Overlords, Ramp Deck. But below those top 3 was a sea of other decks that stood a fighting chance on any given weekend. Come on, say the flourishing thing, dude. Say the thing. Standard was flourishing. The release of Tarkir Dragonstorm in April had a dramatic effect on the metagame, propelling Izzet Prowess to the top of the metagame on the wings of Corey Steelcutter. Whoa, yeah. Right to the top, right to 40-some%. It was the deck to beat at the recent round of the standard regional championships and represented over 40% of the standard metagame at Pro Tour Final Fantasy. Here's an example of such a monster. Here you go. It's clear that Izzet Prowess deck is having a negative effect on the standard metagame. Its play rate numbers are substantially higher than we have seen in standard in the recent past. Beyond just play numbers, though, the degree to which the deck is warping the rest of the metagame around it is crystal clear. One easy example is Mono Red, which reinvented itself for an Izzet Prowess world by adapting large numbers of main deck copies of Magebane Lizard, an excellent card against Prowess strategies that was seeing very little play before the deck's rise to prominence. A lot of people pointed this stuff out in my ban videos, like these numbers aren't real, CGB. You see, everybody is warping their deck around Izzet Prowess to beat it. Therefore, this is not like a pure meta. Sure. But who's to say that Spells deck won't be there next time and Magebane Lizard can still be a good card? I think I think when a card is good, it's not only good against one deck. There are other things that will use the strategy. Like, it's not like Graveyard Hate won't be in decks anymore because of Abuelo's Awakening is banned. Like, yes and no. There's an argument. I don't think it's as clear as everybody makes it. Oh, the other big argument from my ban video, which got so many views, thank you to everybody, was that the statistics did not take into account mirror matches, or if they did, those are compiled by Frank Karsten, who does this all the time. You should follow Frank Karsten on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You should follow Frank Karsten on whatever platform Frank is on, where the numbers come out. Frank always removes mirror matches. So you guys, you know what statistic I want? I want a statistic of the number of people fighting over like whether or not the statistics included mirror matches. That's what I want, because the comments in that video were just going off. Anyhow, that is a little side tangent. I think it's totally fine that the numbers include some amount of main deck and sideboard hate that is taken into account in a meta, because it's not always deck specific hate. It has other places. It's not like Magebane Lizard is a terrible mono red card. It's probably good in a mono red mirror too, because it's got 4 Butte, and you can hit it with the Lizard land, the Rockface Village, and it's also good against any other spell combo that comes out of Vivi in the future. So I don't think Magebane Lizard is like, oh well, because that is popular, because Izzet Prowess is popular, these numbers aren't a pure standard. It's always like this. It's always like finding the right tool in the shed to battle a particular meta. Always. Corey Steelcutter is the obvious target from the Izzet Prowess deck for banning. It is quite simply too strong for the format, or any format, you might argue. A card that's a little bit stronger than everything else. In addition to quickly rising to the top of the standard metagame, Corey Steel Cutter also had a large impact on Modern, a format considerably more powerful than Standard, you don't say. It also has the quality of being a challenging card to interact with profitably, due to the increased burden of answering artifacts and the ease with which Corey Steel Cutter leaves meaningful board presence behind even when quickly destroyed. This combination of sheer strength and resilience has let Corey Steel Cutter run rampant on Standard. It's only been legal since Tarkir, guys. It's only been legal since March, and it's gone. How did this happen? At this point, it's clear the tools to challenge Corey Steel Cutter's dominance don't exist in the environment. Did we play test it? Whatever. For these reasons, and in the interest of metagame diversity, Corey Steel Cutter is banned. I have to go make a note to self right now. You're gonna see me like live, like note myself as a reminder. Get the Corey Steel Cutter clip from Rarin video. It goes on the Clips channel, so check out the Clips channel, CovertGo Clips, formerly CovertGo Live. That's a fun place to post things. I have to get our clip of us talking about Corey Steel Cutter before it was released. Did we say it would get banned? I think one of us might have. I've got to go check it out, but it was just so obviously the most broken card in that set. It was stupid. Let's see. The level of dominance of Is It Prowess in the recent Standard, wait, hold on, I missed this sentence. For the sake of clarity and setting expectations going forward, the banning of Corey Steel Cutter is the kind of action we would take in any of our banning windows. What? The level of dominance of Is It Prowess in the recent Standard metagame clearly meets our threshold for bans outside the once per year Standard window. They are saying this could have been emergency banned. They are saying, yeah, that they are saying this could be an emergency ban level card. They are saying Corey Steel Cutter is a mistake. That's what they're saying. Only red cards are these kind of mistakes nowadays. Oh my God. Anyway, the release of Corey Steel Cutter reshaped the landscape of Standard. It's very challenging to predict what will happen to the metagame after its banning, but we have concerns that the format may drift back to the format it existed previously. No kidding. To make sure the next Standard metagame is diverse and has room for exploration, we're banning 6 additional cards. This is the part that surprised me. This is the part that really shocks me. Corey Steel Cutter, I'm like, yeah, busted card. Go for it. But they have other options. Is it will still be a deck and a threatening deck. That is probably a good thing when you look at it that way. I didn't think they'd pull the trigger on all the decks that were popular before Corey Steel Cutter because they didn't pull the trigger on them in the past. Like, why are we hitting Domain now when it's not even being played? Right? Why are we hitting what? But the idea is that they legitimately want to shake Standard. And it's weird because to me, it feels like it goes against the idea of the 3-year Standard. It goes against the idea of you get to play your decks and they avoid making bans. So the people who invested in all these overlords, hopefully those overlords are still good in other decks. They probably will be. They're very amazing cards, but Domain's an expensive deck and Beans just got banned. Okay. Doesn't feel as stable. It's interesting. Maybe it's because they looked at it and said Domain is like, I figured they just let Domain rotate like they have in the past, but maybe they looked at it and said Domain's about to die anyway. We ban Beans now. We keep another Beans deck from being popular so something changes, and the Domain deck was on its last leg anyhow. They just get one less month to play their Domain deck before it rotates, which is probably fine, especially with all the Magic Cons and I believe the RCQ season out of the way. I didn't check the pro schedule before saying that. Somebody correct me if you need to. Anyway, yap. Azorius Omniscience. The second most popular deck at Final Fantasy was Azorius Omniscience combo with more than a 20% share of the metagame. Every best of one gamer could have told you about this. The Omniscience deck has existed as a part of the metagame for a while, but climbed in popularity to be a major player after gaining new cards in Roiling Dragonstorm and Meringue River region with the release of Tarkir Dragonstorm. I thought it made it more fun, more dragons. Abuelo's Awakening always had the potential to create a deck like this, as 4 mana is cheaper than we normally allow for non-creature reanimation effects to be. But we had hoped that turning what it brings back into a creature would allow ample counterplay. This has not proven to be the case for Omniscience. What a thought. And you put that in the format for like 5 years, maybe 7 with Foundations. It's great. Combo decks like Azorius Omniscience are something we want to exist in Standard, but when too strong, they warp the format around them and reduce the number of viable decks. This version of Omniscience has proved too powerful and too consistent. For these reasons, Abuelo's Awakening is banned. My boy, what have they done to my boy? I'll have to find a way to get to Mythic like a normal human being and not just win most of my blue-white games on turn 4. Such a shame. So sad. I had built a version of the Omniscience deck that was rotation proof. I actually have some footage from it. I may release it just for members, or I may actually release it while I'm gone. It was funny because the win con, the way to end the game the same turn is all gone. Like Founding of the Third Path is rotated, and so is Invasion of Arcavios. All those things rotated. And so it didn't win the turn it got out the Omniscience. It just drew its whole deck, well, almost all of its deck, enough so you don't deck out. It puts all the dragons on the board. It generates 100 prowess otters by having a Storm Chaser's talent in the deck. So it just generates like as many otters as the rope allows you to do. It gets all the confounding riddles, and this town ain't big enough so that it possibly could in your hand. So you would pass the turn with a hand that's like 3 confounding riddles for this town ain't big enough, and 1,000 otters, and it's turn 4 and 4 dragons, and you just pass. They probably sit there and rope you, put something on the stack, you counter it with a riddle, pass back, you win. I didn't even have to win. Like, it was so... Anyway, this is for the best. I'll miss my Omniscience time. I really will. But you always have 7 hours of it to go back and watch if you miss it too. It's for the best. Monstrous Rage has been powering aggressive red decks in Standard since its release in Wilds of Eldraine. It is one of the strongest and most efficient combat tricks to have ever been printed. Probably the only one that will ever be banned. Do I have to read this? Are my eyes actually seeing this? We've enjoyed having a combat trick be a strong Standard card. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Whoever they snuck into the building at Wizards of the Coast loved their mono red so much. So much. The red propaganda is getting to a boiling point. Anyway. But it's clear that Monstrous Rage has overstayed its welcome. It has enabled combo-style aggro decks more than we would like, and has played a large role in lowering the fundamental turn in Standard. The fundamental turn being where the game is effectively over, such as having like easily now it's like turn 3 and turn 4 definitely, but Standard was never meant to be a like you die on turn 4 format in the past, and putting players under too much pressure too quickly. In addition, the fact that it grants trample has decreased the utility of blocking in the format. Brian Kibler would agree. And greatly eroded the efficiency of defensive creatures as a counter strategy to aggressive decks. I really should have just posted. It had me saying a lot of naughty words. I should have just edited out I should have just bleeped all my naughty words. I should have posted the clip. I was playing a game with a dinosaur deck where I cast the 3 mana 6/6 Pugnacious Hammer Skull on turn 2 off Llanowar Elves, and a Manifold Mouse just like a Heartfire Hero just goes right over it, and I cast another one the next turn and another Llanowar Elves, and it goes right through them again, and I die. Like, it was, and the whole time I am just like, I played a 6/6 on turn 2, and it wasn't big enough for their 1 mana mouse and Monstrous Rage and whatever else they had. It was, yes. It's very enraging. Very monstrously ragey, isn't it? All right. I keep losing my spot because I'm sorry. I have a lot of yap in me today. I have a lot of yap about standard in general. For these reasons, and in the interest of eliminating the least fun, aggressive play patterns in standard, they admit it right up here. It was fun having a combat trick. Okay. Least fun, aggressive play patterns in standard. Monstrous Rage is banned. At least they saw the light. At least that happened. Okay. But then this is interesting because they've talked about the mice and how the mice will always be together and how they'll always be the best, most amazing synergistic package that a red deck has ever had. Heartfire Hero has been another key piece of red aggressive deck strength throughout the last year of standard. The curve of Heartfire Hero into Manifold Mouse puts the opponent under pressure immediately and forces decks to have ample interaction for the early turns. Additionally, Heartfire Hero's die trigger gives the red decks significant resiliency to many kinds of removal. This strength has shifted the format towards decks that can interact starting on turn 1 or 2, or decks that can leverage temporary lockdown. Yep, that's all you can do. That's all you can do, or you're just dead. You can't play a creature into a creature that aren't these mice. You're dead. Duh. We want red aggressive strategies to be a viable option in standard. Why? It's always there. It's always there. You don't have to handhold mono red this way. It's always there. It was there when people didn't want it to be a strategy. It was there. Why? Because it's the fastest, and it's got it's always just the fastest little things that can kill somebody who stumbles. Mono red can exist without endless R&D support. It has in the past. It's just every time they're like, we're gonna juice mono red now, they print something like Fire Blast and the format goes to hell. That's a boomer reference. Anyway, Heartfire Hero is proven to have too much explosive power combined with too much resiliency. As such, the mouse is banned. Get it out. Get it out of here. We discussed banning only Heartfire Hero or Monstrous Rage, but ultimately decided that banning both was the correct course of action. So I play Alchemy every now and then. Thank you to my sponsors at Wizards of the Coast. I appreciate you, the Play MTG Arena channel. And Monstrous Rage is banned there. So I have played in an environment with a smaller standard, kind of like a smaller standard, because Alchemy still has a 2-year rotation. And in that environment, Heartfire Hero is nerfed. It's an 0-1 in Alchemy. I still played against red mice constantly. I think the first 3 matches I had the last time I queued into Alchemy were Heartfire Hero on turn 1. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to even nerf the card to an 0-1. It's still good. I think I lost all of those games, by the way. The 2 cards are both independently strong, and leaving either alone would make it likely. Why can't I read? Oh yeah, because I just woke up and my eyes aren't working. And leaving either alone would make it likely that aggressive decks in the format would still be combo style aggro decks with consistent explosive starts and a lot of burst damage potential. By banning both, we shift the aggressive strategies of the format away from combo style aggro, decrease the interactional burden on the non-aggressive decks in the format, and thus increase the number of viable cards and decks. And there's your domain overlords. Up the Beanstalk is no stranger to the ban list, having been banned in Modern since 2023. At this point, Up the Beanstalk has been clearly cemented as the best-in-class source of card advantage for slower decks. It shares Corey Steelcutter's quality of being challenging to interact with profitably, as its controller will almost always be up a full card on the exchange. This means decks powered by Up the Beanstalk are hard for many types of strategies to adapt to, which effectively eliminates them from the metagame when Up the Beanstalk decks are prevalent. The deck building puzzle of Up the Beanstalk has also been solved so many times. Yeah, you mean by Ride's End? You mean by whatever the green one is with Living Weapon? At this point that we expect it to be more monotonous than engaging, as more cost reduction cards may get released in future sets. We've even felt some of these pains while developing cards and mechanics that have yet to be released. For these reasons, Up the Beanstalk is banned. So they've been trying to print cards that are like, this costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards in your hand, or X is your life total, or X is your graveyard, or whatever else. And they've been like, well, what about Up the Beanstalk? And then they're like, oh, well, I guess we can't print that card then. It would be broken. And now they're like, you know what, guys? We want to have more fun deck building in the future, so we're banning Up the Beanstalk now. All right. Job's done. Orzhov Pixie. Interesting that they are showing Orzhov Pixie. Okay. This is interesting because arguably the deck that was playing Pixie was no longer playing This Town Ain't Big Enough, which is one of the cards they banned. And it's probably because of the temporary lockdown situation. And they're hoping that the temporary lockdown situation isn't a thing anymore, that you have to run that card because nothing else deals with Corey's Steel Cutter and the mice. All right, the self-bounce decks have shifted a lot as the format has progressed, with just a small, powerful core consistent between iterations. Hopeless Nightmare is a key piece of that core, serving the role of a one-mana trinket that is powerful to cast many times in a game. The pattern of constant discard it forces on the opponent is among the least fun elements of the deck and shrinks the game in a way that makes it hard to come back from once the self-bounce deck gets going. In addition, Hopeless Nightmare provides the self-bounce decks with both interaction and damage, allowing the deck to position itself as a disruptive, aggressive deck. I have died. I've died on turn 4, going second, so before my turn 4, to the Hopeless Nightmare deck. And when you're playing a deck like Omniscience and like they let you discard the Omniscience and you have the Awakening in hand and you're just waiting to untap on turn 4, and then they actually output 20 damage before that happens, you're like, okay. It's kind of insane. Yeah, it was a turn 3 lockdown, turn 4 Abuelo's Awakening hand, and I just died. I was dead. Allowing the deck to position itself as a disruptive, aggressive deck in the interest of removing the least fun elements of self-bounce, Hopeless Nightmare is banned. This Town Ain't Big Enough has seen play in many different standard decks. It almost always sees play alongside Stormchaser's Talon, a 2-card package that has proven itself in a variety of shells. Most recently, this package played a role in the Is It Prowess deck, but before that, it was a key player in versions of the self-bounce strategy that incorporated blue. When commonplace, This Town Ain't Big Enough makes the format less fun through its unique ability to interact with any permanent base strategy while still advancing the wielder's game plan. While not a huge share of its overall power, the loop with Stormchaser's Talent is particularly frustrating and adds the threat of an endgame lockout to many matchups, making games less fun. For these reasons, This Town Ain't Big Enough is banned. So they're gonna talk more. I'll read all this. I have thoughts. It's interesting that they haven't brought up the metagame share of any of these things. The only place they brought that up was Omniscience and Steel Cutter. And the rest of these, they're like, they kind of, it appears that they'll use metagame share when as a justification to ban something now. But at least in this rotation window, lack of metagame share is not a justification, because they're not talking about how many decks played This Town Ain't Big Enough or Hopeless Nightmare or Beans. They're talking about the experience. So this is interesting because there's been this debate for years of, do they ban for player experience or do they ban for numbers? The answer today is both. All the above. The answer today is yes. That's different. I wouldn't say they've never done it, but now like that debate is a moot point, and going into future ban announcements, the answer can once again be yes. And maybe it is only for these rotation window announcements. This is the first of its kind of in that sense. So maybe they'll say they're only going to do that at these times. I don't know. It's weird because from now on, ban debate is going to not have a rock to stand on. It's literally going to be, well, people don't like Hopeless Nightmare, it could get banned. And I'll be like, yes. And they'll be like, this deck is 40% of the meta, it's going to get banned. And I'll be like, Also, yes, both apparently are now true. Oh God, we're going to talk about 3-year standard. It's been a little over 2 years since we announced the shift to 3-year standard. So we haven't even had a full 3-year standard cycle yet. And this happened. With every set we release, we learn more about how to adapt our design heuristics to this new model for standard. Good. This set of bands is emblematic of 2 key learnings we'll be carrying forward in the future. I would love to know more about this. First, with the larger card pool of 3-year standard, we need to be more precise with our 1-mana cards and our cards that synergize with 1-mana cards. Yes, this is a very good point. I'll read the rest of their thing, but most people don't understand how cheap a 1-mana card is. Going from a 1-mana cost card to a 2-mana cost card is double. So if you get the same effect or even a bonus for a card that costs half of what a 2-mana card costs, leveraging that will always win you games. Like it's the biggest jump in the mana curve is from 1 mana to 2 mana. If you have a powerful 1 mana effect and your opponent has no 1 mana effect but a powerful 2 mana effect, you're still well ahead. It's crazy. 3 of the cards banned today cost 1 mana, and Corey Steelcutter asked to be played alongside the cheapest cards available. The potential for 1-mana cards to define a format grows as the card pool increases, and we've learned that going to 3-year standard is a larger step in that direction than we had first believed. Standard is more fun when the starts of games often cost more than 1 or even 2 mana. That is so true, and we will be taking steps to ensure that is true more often going forward. Love that. Standard should be like a turn 5, 6, 7 format. Standard, I've been watching some old standard footage. You know how many games of standard would start with a tap land, either a 3-color tap land or a scry land? Oh, and those were good formats, man. Those were good formats. And now it's like, well, if I'm not playing stuff on turn 1, whether it's duress, cut down, manifold mouse, or a bounce spell like Into the Flood Maw, something, I'm dead. It's like, you're just dead. I gotta play a Storm Chaser's Talent because it's a 1-mana card. I just need something on the board. I don't want to die. Second, we need to scrutinize and be careful with the rate of cards that are challenging to interact with favorably. They didn't learn from Lucky Clover and Witch's Oven. That's what they're saying right now, and I'm very bothered. With the increased power level of cards in the larger format that is 3-year standard, decks are very capable of turning a small advantage into a snowball that ends the game. Strong cards that leave resources behind when dealt with, like Corey Steelcutter and Up the Beanstalk, reliably create that first small advantage. Identifying these cards and evaluating their strength in context of their interactional requirements is a task that play design is incorporating into our process going forward. Your 2-mana cards can't be busted snowball cards that pay for themselves. Yep, that makes sense. That makes so much sense. One last announcement for standard today. Considering our next standard rotation won't be until early 2027, we will be having 2 of our early rotation standard banning windows before the next standard rotation. You can expect one of these windows in about 18 months, right before rotation as usual. That's probably the January one. The other one will be in roughly 9 months around the midway point, but we haven't decided on an exact date yet, and it could move around by a month or 2. We will clearly indicate which announcements will specifically take a deeper look at standard. Okay. They've said there's going to be a few more ban announcements. They're playing in the future. I guess there are some cards on the way that have them concerned, or they're just generally concerned after this huge shock wave that they just sent through Magic the Gathering with this announcement. Either can be true. In either sense, it's a good idea. So, do we want to read about Pioneer? Do we want to read about Modern? Do we want to read about all these other formats? Where did something get banned? I mean, honestly, they wrote a ton of stuff about various things in here, which is interesting, but I don't play a lot of these formats. Alchemy suspending Corey Steelcutter, that makes so much sense, but it's kind of weird that they can't just do rebalance. Here's a rebalance for you. The Monk is an 0-1. Done. All right. Best of one. Or here's what if the Monk was a 0-0? The Monk token it generates. What if it was a 0-0? What if, guys, What if you had to have the cutter attached to it for it to be alive, or you had to have a prowess trigger on that turn for it to live, and then it would die at the end of turn anyway because you moved the cutter off it to generate a new one? I kind of like that. Arena team, if you're watching, consider the monk token being a 0/0, eh? Eh? Anyway, yeah, counterspell unbanned is fine. Timeless Brawl, no changes. I mean, we'll read one for our favorite format. The popularity of Brawl continues to grow with the addition of over 100 new commanders. The update included the partner mechanic for the first time. We have accounted for partner in our matchmaking system and will continue to adjust individual placement of commanders as they prove themselves. Actually, they put so many commanders straight to hell queue already. I was kind of amazed at all the commanders that go straight to hell in the new Brawl format of Final Fantasy, but hey, that's a whole other subject. All right, guys. They did the thing. It did happen. Corey Steel Cutter, Abuelo's Awakening, Monstrous Rage, Heartfire Hero, Up the Beanstalk, Hopeless Nightmare, This Town Ain't Big Enough are all banned. When will that take effect on Arena? Effective date June 30th. So maybe later today I'll be able to record with a new environment. That's crazy. That's crazy. As I come to the end of this video, those of you who stayed till the end, good job, but don't turn it off yet. I have announcements in general for the channel. They might be a separate video in the future soon, but just so you guys have a heads up, I'm going on vacation. I leave tomorrow early. So today is my only day to record with these ban announcements. I mean, maybe no changes would have made my vacation easier. This means that there won't be a lot of Magic the Gathering Arena content during my vacation, and I'm gone all the way in for 2 weeks until July 14th, I believe, something like that. And when I get back, I'm going straight to work on Edge of Eternities, as I'm an official Magic the Gathering ambassador for that. So the standard content, it's really sad, but these bans are happening, but I won't have the opportunity to do as much standard content as I want for the next 2 weeks, as I do have a vacation planned. I do have some things already scheduled for that trip. In particular, I was sponsored to be in Raren's Rumble, a Hearthstone event celebrating the new set Into the Emerald Dream, and I have some sweet matches against other content creators like Simo, Voxy and Amazonian, and Day 9, and I have some sweet videos of that I will be posting on the channel for you guys to enjoy. And for those who don't like Hearthstone and have comments for me about that, I would otherwise there'd be nothing. So it's just there for the people who want it. If you don't want it, that's fine. I get it. It makes me really sad to read like angry comments and see thumbs downs on the videos. I guess you feel like your voice must be heard, but the other option was nothing. It's not like there was going to be a standard video in its place. It's not taking the place of any standard content. I'm not going to have enough time to record enough content after these bans. So there's going to be days of just nothing on the channel for during this vacation. But in the meantime, I do have some Hearthstone VODs to release, and I do have a few other pieces of content to release. And I also have some members only content that I'm going to put up. Usually it's like it's like Brawl videos, and it's not like Brawl videos with a hot new Final Fantasy commander. It's like, hey, I played Emery for the 30th time. Have some content. There's a Tameo video like that, and those videos I'm not sure if I'll release public or not, but anyway, that's what's going on. The channel for the next 2 weeks is going to have some sponsored Hearthstone content and probably whatever Magic content I can get done today, and then there are going to be days with no posts whatsoever. We also have the Worst Possible Live episode from Vegas that is going to be coming out. So there are things that are going to drop. I'm just going to be playing a lot less Arena for the next 2 weeks, which is unfortunate now that there are bans. But I'll be back. I'll be back on the 14th, and I'll be back to work on Arena. I'm not quitting Magic the Gathering. And those of you who stayed till the end of this video and see the comments in the Hearthstone videos about him quitting Magic the Gathering, you guys know the truth, and you can drop some truth bombs that I'll be back and definitely playing Magic the Gathering on the 14th of July after my vacation. And thank you very much. You stayed till the end. That, of course, is the #1 thing you can do to help the channel. Top it off, hit like, hit subscribe. Thank you, my Mesa Falcons. You're cool.